Good evening. I am Kamau Kujichagulia, and this is On the Case with Kamau Kujichagulia. And this week, we have, a very, very, very important person of here in the city of Trenton. We have the City of Trenton Police Director, Steve Wilson, who we're going to be chatting with in a little bit. But before we get to him, I wanted to mention that today was the day that Senator Shirley Turner and Assemblywoman Verlina, Reynolds Jackson presented the check for $400,000 for the African American Museum over on Hart Avenue. So Brother Algernon Ward was extremely happy, and it's a great thing. I don't think there's another black museum in the city of Trenton. So black people have been in Trenton for centuries. So it's a good thing that we are exposing our history to the world. And you know what? Our history in Trenton is a calling card, because Trenton, what we do, we talk about the revolution being here as historic America, but Black American history of Trenton is a calling card for Americans and for everybody in the world, because we've done so much, and we need to expose the world to what we've done. There are many firsts here in the city of Trenton. So I'm glad that we have a museum that is beginning to show the contributions that we've made throughout the years. So that's a good thing. Hello, Michael Harmon.
Hey, Pop, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. We got a good one today.
Yes, we do.
We got a good one today. Police Director Steve Wilson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But even before we get there, I wanted to mention something that right now there's a summit going on in Africa. No, it's going on in Russia, but it involves many of the heads of state from Africa meeting with President Putin about better relations between Africa and Russia. Russia, way back in the early 1900s, right after the ANC was formed in South Africa, for freedom to begin the revolutionary struggle in Africa. Russia, with their revolution, they were the first to actually come out and help Africa. And they have a long history of helping African nations break from the yoke of colonialism. So we have to find out more about Africa, because our take on Africa is from the Western, the white supremacist, the colonizing viewpoint. That's what we know. But we have to start looking at Russia from whether they've been friends to Africa, to our people, for all this time, while these Western countries have been enslavers. So that's just something I wanted people to know about, and want people to think about it.
Enslavers among a bunch of other things.
Oh yeah. We have to stop looking through the eyes of people who really don't care for us all that much, and haven't really been taken our side in very many things. So
right,
just something to think about for people. But anyway, let's stop all this and get on with Brother Steve Wilson. Brother,
Hello.
how are you?
Police
I'm
Director Wilson, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Everyone, I
I'm
want
good.
you to meet the police director of the city of Trenton, Brother Steve Wilson.
Hello, everyone.
Sir, now you've been police director for what, the last 3 years or so?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
But before that, you were a member of the Trenton's police force. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Oh, okay. So, my journey in law enforcement actually started in 1985. I went to State Police Academy, but I was injured in the academy, so that ended there. Um, After that, I worked in the plumbing and heating business for 2 years, and then I joined State Department of Corrections, and I was a correction officer for 6 years prior to coming to the Trenton Police Department. I often thought that was a blessing in disguise when I was injured in the Trooper Academy over my career. I thought that because I was able to do in the Trenton Police Department things that I probably wouldn't have done in the state troopers. So I worked in the capacity of patrol officer. Then I went to special operations. In the proactive unit, I was undercover in a vice unit. And I also worked in the criminal investigation bureau. So I worked in every part of the police department, with the exception of internal affairs. So it made me a well-rounded um, officer, and I attained the rank of detective lieutenant before I retired, April of 2020. So in the criminal investigation bureau, I was in charge of general assignment, which is the special victims unit, the youth section, and property crimes and crime scene.
Okay. Have you always wanted to be a police officer?
Um, no, it's kind of a funny story because I actually, when I left high school and I went to college for mechanical engineering, and I ended up doing better in my criminal justice classes than I was in my engineering classes. And my student advisor thought, hey, I think you're in the wrong major. So I kind of tended to agree with that. And I know, and my family is military, law enforcement, and military police. My father was a career in the army, and he was a military police officer as well. So I guess that's what I grew up with. So I kind of migrated towards that, without probably knowing it. But then my older brother George, came here in 1992 as a police officer after um, 10 years active duty in the military, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps because I saw what he was doing and he was making a difference here in Trenton, and so I actually followed in my older brother's footsteps coming here.
Okay.
You're a Trentonian, original Trentonian?
Actually, I grew up in Hamilton Township. I had family members here. I moved into the city back and forth, and part of that because I wanted to work here. I could have been a police officer in Hamilton Township, but um, I thought um, that I could do more in Trenton, and since I had family members here, so I moved here and I got the job here. And I've been back and forth in between Hamilton and Trenton, largely in part because I have my mother's elderly and I'm her primary caregiver. So um, she lives just like 2 miles outside of the city. So I actually um, purchased that house, and I take care of her. So um, I lived on Spring Street and Dayton and Broad Street.
Okay. You
But
came here,
I spent 26 years here as a police officer.
26 years.
Yes.
26 years.
So you came in, I guess, then when Palmer was mayor,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Doug was back when Doug was mayor, I was saying, what's wrong with this man? But as I've grown and begun to see some of the things that he's done, Doug was in many ways a revolutionary, because at that time the black and Latino members of the Trenton Police Force were very, very few. As a matter of fact, not just the police force, but of Trenton employees. And he brought in a lot of black and Latino employees to the city of Trenton. What did you? Were you part of that wave or what?
I don't know if I was part of that wave, but I do know that over the years, when I started, I would estimate that the police department was probably around 80% Caucasian. Um, and the second population was black, and probably the third population was Hispanic, and the smaller population was women. Um, but I know that now, when I retired, I was the highest ranking black officer here, detective lieutenant. There are now 7 minority lieutenants here, since I came back. Um, and Our diversity here, um, in spite of, there's some folks that think that we are still at 80-20, and we are not. There's 45% Caucasian officers here and 55% minority officers here now. And as our, I've heard,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I've heard, some folks complain that, oh, well, the upper ranks are all white males. Um, that it's not true, but um, in effect, yes, but those are all the oldest guys on the job that
Right.
started when I started. So they're aging out, and as they retire, like I said, there are 7 minority lieutenants here now. So they will
Real,
be eligible to become captains. When they take the test. So um, the diversity here is much different than it was when I started in 1994. Much different.
Director Wilson, how many lieutenants are there on the Trenton Police Force?
Um, well, we're budgeted for 16. I have a couple of acting because of retirements. Um, we're budgeted for 5 captains and 35 sergeants at this time. But hopefully, everybody keep your fingers crossed that DCA will sign off on the waivers that allow me to promote um, folks and keep the department moving forward.
Okay.
The mayor has worked very hard with the DCA. Um, we got permission to hire 31 new officers. We're in the hiring process right now. Um, our number prior to that, we had 259 officers here. In the past, when I was first hired, there was a little over 400 officers here, and through attrition, we went down to our budgeted positions, which I think was 375, and then unfortunately in 2011 and 2012 we had that mass layoff, and that took our numbers down by almost a third. And
Mm.
that was devastating to the city in regards of, one, it changed how we had to police, because we had to prioritize assignments, and we've always done that, but we really had to do it because we didn't have enough officers to cover the whole city effectively. So um, we do that now. Our assignments are prioritized, and what that means is, obviously the violent crime is addressed first. And if someone did a quality of life offense, such as like gambling in public, that's a lower priority than would be a shooting. So when our assignments go out, we hit the prioritized assignments first, and then we work our way down to the lesser crimes or offenses. And unfortunately, sometimes our citizenry doesn't understand that. So when I go to the community meetings, I try to stress that, and why that happens. Because a lot of the times, when people call the police, they call for their concern, and that's the only thing they have on their mind. That's what is important to them in the moment. And I understand that. And as a police department, our officers have to understand that too, that all the complaints are important to those who are making them. Um, however, that doesn't oftentimes jive with our prioritization of assignments. And it's unfortunate, but as we rebuild the police department, um, we can do more. And so that's why I always say we always striving to do better. We can always do better, and as long as I'm here, that's what we're going to do. We're going to always try and do better.
Okay. When the police force was cut so many years ago, was there a increase in crime?
Yes, there was the folks that um, live in that lifestyle. They took advantage of that. I myself, I suffered from that. I didn't lose my job, but I was demoted from sergeant back to detective for a bit of time. And the folks, like I said, the folks that are out there that didn't have the best interest of the city, for lack of a better way of putting it, they did take advantage of that. And unfortunate, but that did happen.
So, what is the difference between like you said, you were knocked back down to a sergeant? What's the difference between a sergeant, a regular police officer, and a detective?
So it's a police officer. They're the ones that you normally see riding around in the black and whites in patrol uniform, um, out there on the street, daily, and you see them. And when something happens, they respond out there. Our detectives, one, uh, I was a detective in the old vice enforcement unit, so I was undercover. So you never saw me around, and if you did see me, I had a mask on because of the different operations that we would do. Now, there are other kinds of detectives. There are detectives in a criminal investigation bureau, and they do more after the fact investigation. Police officer is first responder, reactive. Um, a detective that say handles robberies or assaults, they come in after the fact and investigate those crimes, hopefully to the logical conclusion of arresting the offender and recovering property if it's a robbery, or just solving those crimes. And we also have here community affairs detectives in a unit, and they do and are involved in a lot of our all of our community outreach that we do here. They're involved in that, so they do that kind of thing.
Okay, okay. Now, back in the day, back in 19, well, I guess it was 85, you wanted to be a police officer, right? Well, you wanted to be a state police officer.
Yeah.
Um, and I know state police was even whiter than Trenton police back in that day. Was it a hard decision, considering what the community often thinks about policing? Was it a hard decision for you to want to become a police officer?
No. I think it's because the family I was brought up in was military. Um, all my older brothers are in the military. The brother I followed here also is military, and he has a dual retirement from the military and from Trenton Police Department. So it was kind of um, destiny for the Wilson brothers, the Wilson sons, to go into the military or a paramilitary organization like this. So I think kind of because of following in my father's footsteps and certainly following in my older brother's footsteps, it was just my destiny to do this. And I did. I wanted to become a cop. And at the time when I was um, in the selection process for the state police, I was also in a selection process for South Brunswick Police Department. And in fact, one of the interviewers, um, I guess being kind of facetious, and I guess I was like part of the whole process. And he said, "Oh, well, it sounds like you want to be the best. You want to be a trooper. You want to have state jurisdiction as opposed to local jurisdiction. And what do you do if you want to go there?" And I said, "Listen, I want to be a police officer. Whoever calls me first, that's where I'm going. So that was the whole idea. I wanted to go fight crime and help people. So it's kind of corny, but I was also a comic book fan because of my dad. He read comics all the time, and I thought this is the closest you can be to being a superhero without having a cape and being able to fly. So, um, and even as a young man, I was a paper boy. I got mugged. They robbed me for my paper money, and I thought, that's just so wrong. And somebody has to do something about that kind of thing. So there was, and now that I'm thinking about it, there was quite a bit of motivation to put on a badge on. So yeah.
So how rewarding was your career? I mean, did it meet your expectations?
Yes, and then some. It was very rewarding when you see that you're actually making a difference and you're helping people. Um, Sometimes you see you see folks at their best, at their worst. You get to help people, and you get to lock up bad guys. And I thought, what's better than that? And um, unfortunately, you see a lot of tragedy. One thing, when I was young on a job, I almost did quit because there was there was a fire. It was a second floor apartment, and the entrance was the exit on a wooden staircase. These old homes that we have here, and it was around Christmas time, and fire was called in, and my sergeant and I were the first ones to get there, and we both ran up the staircase because there was children inside, and we tried to kick the door in, and it was just fully engulfed, and we couldn't do it. My boots were burned, my pants were burned, and still a hard one to talk about after all these years. But there was three children, they all passed away, and um, a guy who was a canine officer who ended up being one of my lieutenants that I worked for. Um, to see the firemen get there and grab the children and pass them out the window to my the canine officer who ended up being my lieutenant, and he's running over to the ambulance, and you just know, but you still have to try, And I almost quit that night because we couldn't do anything, and they all passed away. And to this day, the only thing that I could hope is that they passed away from the smoke inhalation first, because they were in pretty bad shape, if you know what I mean. And but then, on the other hand, I seen a baby delivered, so so and that was wonderful. And I was a story. I was partnered with a guy named Jose Vasquez. He retired as a lieutenant as well, and we were working Walnut Avenue. And Walnut Avenue was back in the day one of the biggest crack selling streets in the city, and so we went to work out there, and there was a sweet old lady there working and living there rather, and we called her grandma. I never really knew her name, but she had this yard that was we would see her out there manicuring her yard in a little house, and one day she was out there sweeping her sidewalk, and we were parked next to her house writing reports, and we used to handwrite reports back in the day. Now they have computers. These police are baby today, but we used to handwrite reports back then. She came up to our car, and she didn't miss a sweep. She just kept sweeping and talking, and they called my partner Big Vaz, and they called me Big Indian at the time. And she goes, "You know what, Big Indian?" She goes, "Us old folks are glad you're around." And I said, "Really, Grandma? Why is that?" Because when you're around and Big Vaz is around, all the drug dealers go away, and the noise goes away, and we can tell the difference. And that was the best paycheck I ever got on this job. And that's very special because cops can do that too now. They can make that impression, and that's what I hope that the officers here are trying to do, and that's what I try to push here, because one man can make a difference, two men can make a difference, and um, yeah, you got to get out there and work. And I'll tell you, we got into um, many foot chases, and we got to know who the good guys were. We got to know who the bad guys were. And but we gained a lot of respect out there because we did our jobs and we did it fairly. And that's the thing. You got to do it fairly. And even the guys that are on the other side of the law, they'll come to respect the officer too, as long as you're out there doing things fairly. So I've always tried to push that in my career. And So when I got this job, I still have that mentality of that young officer. What can we do to make it better? And I never got um, disgruntled. It's easy to, in this job to get disgruntled as you go along and years go by, and you hear, oh, you keep locking up the same guy over and over again, and or things don't change, or things are getting worse. But you know what? You take an oath. You have to stand by that oath. An oath is to protect and serve, and um, I always took that seriously. I hope that our new officers that we hire here take that seriously, and I hope the officers who are already here remember that oath. And we're not perfect. We are subject to feelings just like anyone else, and we go through trauma just like anyone else. And some folks forget that police officers were people and are people as well, and trauma affects them as well too, as it does the citizens out on the street. Like trauma affects everybody, and including police officers, firefighters, any first responder that responds to tragedy. That affects you, in some way, shape, or form, and um, sometimes it affects the way you work. Unfortunately, but that is a truth that's out there. It does, and it affects how you talk to people. Um, so we try to, one of the big things is the mental health aspect of society. Is it needs to be nurtured and helped. So we try to do things now in a different way. We try to police in a different way. Um, our officers, the Attorney General, back in 21, I believe it was, he came out with um, de-escalation training and bystander training that was mandatory for all police officers and troopers in New Jersey. We were on. I announced it first here. I wanted everyone to know that we are doing this. So I wanted to get it out there that we were doing things so we can approach um, situations differently. We are doing this training. I announced that publicly. I wanted everybody to know that there is some police reform going on around here. Um, there needs to be police reform, which I'm doing. There needs to be societal reform. Um, Society and the police departments moved away from each other a long time ago. When I was originally on this job, our citizens in our police department were much closer, and I think that's why I was successful here because I always enjoyed a good relationship with the citizens here, and through different events and different tragedies, it went into this us or them mentality. And when I came back here, my first thing was to bring it back together because um, the police department is not separate from the community. The police department is a part of the community, and they want to talk about well, you have to tear down the walls. There need be no walls or tear down the fences. There shouldn't be a fence because the police department is part of the city of Trenton community. So that's my idea of it, anyways, in our community outreach. So um, I see a question up here: blue wall of silence. Um, there shouldn't be a blue wall of silence. Uh, there are some investigations that aren't allowed to be talked about in public. I went through that with some of our media in the city. The director's not saying anything. This and that. I'm also remember I'm the head of a law enforcement agency, and I'm guided by the Attorney General guidelines, and also um, the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, and they talk about violent crimes and homicides. He has to talk about those things because he's the head of the homicide task force. I cannot. Um, speak about those things. But anything else that the AG may take um, over as an investigation, I'm also not allowed to talk about. And some folks don't realize that, and they think that my silence is an attempt to not talk about things. But there's some things that I just cannot talk about, and I'm guided by the Attorney General guidelines, and information will be released according to his guidelines. But as far as the Blue Wall of Silence, this is part of the training that we do. Um, it was mandatory one-time training, and it's the ABLE training, and that's the bystander training we're talking about. And for the folks out there that doesn't know what that means the bystander training is when one officer is out there and another officer is doing something wrong. They are now obligated by law to stop the action and report the action if the action is illegal. So that's what I think of the Blue Wall of Silence. Our bystander training, I didn't do it. It was instituted one-time training. However, I have incorporated it into our biannual training. Um, so the Trenton Police Department will we will do that bystander training twice a year, and not just for one time as directed. Um, the directive initially said. So we will always do refreshers, and when we get updates, we will always do that, and we do it biannually to ensure that officers are doing what they're supposed to be doing out there.
Okay. I don't know. A few years back, I was at a meeting with Trenton Police. They were holding for some young people, and they were saying that if you young people see something, you need to come forward with it.
Yeah.
And young people were saying, well, wait a minute, hold up. You want us to snitch, but if police officers do something, then there's this blue wall of silence, and y'all won't snitch on each other. So you're saying that this is no longer the case, or because police is a pretty tight brotherhood.
The best way to take care of each other is to make sure that we are doing the right thing, and every officer is obligated um, by law now to do that, to stop actions that are illegal. And remember, we're not perfect. There are some times where emotions rule the day, and they shouldn't. There are some times when there's somebody out there just dedicated to doing the wrong thing, whether it just be a small thing like a demeanor complaint or excessive force. It does happen. Um, I'm not saying that the Trenton Police Department doesn't have those issues, because every police department across America has issues like that. But with our bystander training and our de-escalation training, we're seeing a lesser amount of those complaints, that means we're heading in the right direction.
All right. A few months ago, you introduced a summer initiative to help curb, city violence. How's that going?
Um, well, according to my commanders, we're doing pretty good with it. The summer initiative involves obviously the Trenton Police Department, Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, the Mercer County Sheriff's Office, and the New Jersey State Police, and some of our federal authorities and federal partners. And it's the idea to put more boots on the ground, to have better police coverage during obviously everyone knows during the summer months is when there's an uptick in violence and activities. There's uptick in all activities during the summer months. So this is our way of helping have more police coverage, and to hopefully have put preventive measures in place to stop violence. Some of the things that we're doing is an increased presence in our hotspot areas. I've gone to a number of community meetings since I've been here, and one of the biggest complaints that we have actually is a quality of life issue, and it's speeding throughout the city.
Hmm.
Um, Over there on Stuyvesant Avenue near Kilmer, 800 block of Stuyvesant Avenue, and other major thoroughfares here. So we're also conducting radar operations in those areas, just to slow people down because um, there's
Trent
no
Police
street in
has
the city.
radar.
Yeah, we have some radar operators. What I hope to do as we are able to increase our numbers in the police department is to reinstitute a traffic unit. Um, if you've been around long like me, then you know we used to have a traffic unit dedicated here in the city of Trenton, and I'd like to bring that back um, to address a lot of these areas. And if I had a whole unit that could do that on just a regular basis, I think that would help us out a lot because um, one, stop speeding. Two, it's an increased presence in areas because oftentimes the areas where they're speeding are the hotspot areas where things happen to. So if there's an increased presence of police officers there, even though they may be just writing tickets and stopping speeders and doing motor vehicle violations, um, the presence of police, less likelihood of something, bad happens. So,
Do the Trenton Police patrol 29? Or is that the state police? 'Cause I've noticed a lot more police on 29.
um,
I don't speed though, so
well, that's good. Uh, if you see the police on 29, they're probably taking a shortcut moving between north and or west and South Trenton. But yeah, you'll see an increased presence of state police as well. I speak with the colonel and Lieutenant Colonel Brennan from the state police, and they've dedicated more resources here for us. Um, it's tough on them too because remember they're the state police, so they're spread across the state, and their numbers have decreased over the years too. Um, a little bit off topic, like all municipalities and the state police are our recruitment numbers are down, and we want to change the perception of police departments and get those numbers up, and we're all working towards that goal. But that's one of the problems. So we're all dipping into the same pools trying to get recruits. They're trying to get trooper recruits. I'm trying to get municipal recruits. Other departments they're trying to get municipal recruits. So we're kind of dipping in the same pools there, but um, we're definitely trying to get more here to restore the numbers that we had. But as far as 29, um, if there's major accidents on there, yeah, sometimes you'll see the state police handle it. Sometimes you'll see our Trenton units handle it because the road is a state road. However, it does go through Trenton, and the same thing with like parts of Route 1.
Okay. What are these little blue light, red light things? What
Okay,
these?
so
What are they? I see them all over the all over the
okay,
city.
hopefully you're going to see a little bit more. What we're doing is that's part of our technology upgrade, um, and that is coming through um, our partners with the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, and those trailers have cameras on them, and they're part of um, what we're doing to be able to curb crime. I try to not go into exactly what we're doing with them, but there's cameras on them, so you can if you put your mind a little imagination, you can probably guess.
Okay. Okay. Because I had seen them, but
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were for. Okay. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So if you actually walk up to the trailer, you'll see a badge on there for the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, and you'll see a Trenton Police patch on them, and that's our joint operations. And we have some around the city. Hopefully, we'll be able to obtain some more within the next 2 months. Um, and it's a technology upgrade and to help us prevent and solve crimes.
Yeah. Now, remember you were talking about Grandma over there on Walnut Avenue.
Hmm.
Now, that's her concern. Well, her happiness was that you know you were there and the other brother was there, and they got to know you and they got to feel safe around you.
Right.
Now, I know you're short of men, but how has technology increased your ability to be more neighborly?
Um, to be more neighborly, the technology is really not designed to do that. The officers should be doing that. And for the most part, our officers work the same neighborhoods. We don't like when they come to roll call. Just for instance, Michael, if you and I were partners, when we come in, we're assigned to the same area. So it's part of their job to get to know the folks there, just like it was when I was, they call it pushing a wagon. Um, but our technology upgrade, we use that preventative measure. We also use that to help us see things that we otherwise couldn't see, and that helps us solve crimes as well.
Okay.
Now you say you go to a lot of community meetings.
Yes, I do.
What's that about?
Um, well, that is a forum from different community groups where I get to hear firsthand um, complaints, because I can't talk to every citizen in the city of Trenton. So a lot of the areas have community groups, and they're kind of like spokesman for the neighborhood, and they will come and tell me, and not just me, my community affairs detectives always go there. We have 4 community affairs detectives, north, south, east, and west ward, along with the lieutenant that runs the unit, and they will tell me their concerns, um, and tell me their complaints, tell me if we're doing good, what we can do better, and it's so what we try to do here is a community-based response policing. So we reach out and talk to the different community groups. Just recently in the atrium, we had a meeting with business owners. Um, this is when we were discussing how the summer initiative is going to initiate, for lack of a better term. But I listened to the citizens or their representatives to see how we can better police and address public safety. And who knows better than the citizen? So why wouldn't I go to these community meetings and utilize that resource? Um, and that's the partnership. That's where the community and the police department, we get to come together, and I get to show them that, hey, we're part of you, because I'm the guy who's in charge, and I'm coming down on, out of my ivory tower, and I'm coming down here with you because I'm concerned about what goes on in the city, just like you are, and I get to show the folks that I care to, and that's where it starts. It starts with me, and I took on that responsibility when I accepted this job, to become the face of this police department, and talk to the community, and make sure that message gets out to the commanders, to the lieutenants, to the sergeants, to the officers on the street. And that's my responsibility. That's why I go to community meetings.
Does the community say that they want more police? Because I don't. I've been here for what, about 50 years. I don't think I've ever met a police officer in my neighborhood.
Well, that's unfortunate, and you should have. So I don't know why that you didn't. Oftentimes,
I run a lot too. I be running.
well, you know what? Sometimes our citizens that aren't involved in crime they don't get to meet police officers, because they don't engage them on that level, because they're engaging with folks that are out there maybe doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So a lot of times our citizens, this is not the first time I've heard that, but if the more personnel I can get here, the better coverage I can, and perhaps the likelihood of you actually meeting officers would increase. That concerns me when to hear that, because
Yeah.
I wish everybody had a personal relationship with.
I would love to have a relationship like Grandma had. When I come up to a cop and I say, "Hey, it's good to see you."
Where do you live? I'll make sure that the police officers there, they come and see you.
I'm out here on Southwest Field.
Southwest Field, okay.
Southwest Field. Now earlier we were talking about increasing the number of blacks and Latinos on the police force. One other thing that we need to talk about is black on black crime.
Yeah.
What is it that we can that is being done to curb this?
Okay, so we're here at the Trenton Police Department. We're kind of I hate to use this word, but we're attacking that on two different um, ends. So there's the law enforcement end, obviously, where we're going after criminals and making arrests and things like that. But um, just as important is the way we're doing it is our community outreach. So what we have to do is guide those that are in that lifestyle away from it, and we have to prevent those who may be going down that road from going down that road and turn them the other way. So how do we do that within the Trenton Police Department? Um, Community engagement and outreach. We started a program in the ninth grade academy called the Public Safety Leadership Group. It's not just the Trenton Police, it's Trenton Fire, FBI, Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Mercer County Sheriff's Office, um, 8 different agencies where hopefully it's a pilot program we did this year. And once a week, one of these agency goes in there and they teach a class for 90 minutes to engage our ninth graders and show them that, and the idea was to have officers and people that look like them to show them like, hey, you can achieve. And I went to one of the first classes, spearheaded by Trenton Police. So I went and I taught, and I told them my story. And my story is not all happy. I was 14 years old when I lost my father. So, I had a quote unquote broken home I grew up in. I have an immigrant mother. But through hard work, I achieved, and look at me now. So I told them that story first before I told them about Steve Wilson, the police officer. So the message is that hey, even though because a lot of our youths come from broken homes or some type of trauma, and they think they're full of despair and they think they can't achieve. Well, you can achieve through adversity, and that was my message. You stay with it, find good role models, hold on to them, learn from them, and that's what I did. Um, and you can still achieve, and that's the message for the Public Safety Leadership Group. And that didn't just come from me; it comes from all the different agencies that do that. And we're going to continue it next year. Um, uh, Superintendent Earl is a wonderful partner from the Board of Education, and we hope to expand that into the high school and expand it down into the elementary school or the middle school. Um, so that's one thing. Now, and then my partner over there, just down the street at the fire department, Director Douglas, um, he brought the Junior Public Safety Academy here, and I had police explorers here, and so we kind of combined those two groups under the Junior Public Safety Academy, and that's going on right now. Um, Last year, I think we had maybe 20 kids. This year, we have nearly 40. Also, I have this summer camp going on for the younger kids, and hopefully, all of our summer camp kids. We have 35 kids every week for 4 weeks in the summertime. 35 different kids each week, and they go and do things that they normally wouldn't have available to them, and it doesn't cost them a dime. Um, the fire department, the police department take care of it, and if you go on our Facebook page, you can see some of the videos from the Junior Public Safety Group, and I think the Trenton Fire's Facebook has it as well. And theirs is the Junior Public Safety Academy is more of an academy where they do PT, they march and everything. And summer camp is a summer camp for kids, But they go on day trips. They went to uh, New York the other day to the memorial, 911 memorial, I think it was the other day. But they do a lot of things, and just to show them different things that they normally wouldn't get. So one of the biggest lifts that I'm trying to do is to bring back Trenton PAL, and but it's not going to be Police Athletic League. It's going to be, if I can get this moving, the Police Activities League, because kids do more than sports now. When we were all young, PAL was boxing, football, basketball, baseball. Um, because of the demographic change in the city, soccer is very big. all those sports are still big, but our youth are into technology. Um, the prosecutor has partnered with me on that. He's already having drone classes in the schools.
Mm.
We'll do, if I can get this rolling, we'll do drones and music and gaming. There's a Lego league that we were going to try and start, and then, like I said, it's a big lift. And trying, I think I have recruited a local area hospital, Capital Health. I think they're willing to help out financially, which is huge. But we have to get this going. There's so many things that we're trying to do here. Also, one of the other things that is really big in the city is our Trenton Community Street Teams, and that is public health through a mental health lens, and it's folks from the community helping heal the community. Some of the people that are involved in street teams have a history, um, but they've grown out of it, and now they want to be a positive part of that. Um, we wrote the grant for it to bring the street teams here. The model is from Newark. Um, as a matter of fact, that Newark model has spread throughout the country. It's down here. We're fortunate enough here to have two street teams because Pastor Boyer and Mount Zion Church also got a grant and started a street team here. That's the Salvation and Social Justice Street Team. So we have two in Trenton.
Hmm.
So the city of Trenton is benefiting from having two teams here. But for our team, we're our director of it is Perry Shaw, and um, I don't know if I don't want to be shameless, but I would like to put out the website for that so people can see
Sure.
exactly for themselves. So it's Trenton Community Street Team, all one word, .org.
Trenton Community Street Team.
.org. Yes.
.org.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you when you go on that and you see the faces on there, you're gonna go, wow. There's one guy on there and you can't miss him. But he and I used to be at odds back in the day, if you know what I mean. We were on both sides of that issue, and now we're on the same team, and that's tremendous. That is so tremendous, and when he joined the team and we were at a community meeting, I I embarrass him, I think, all the time because when the street team comes to community meetings as well to explain what they're doing and how they operate, and I embarrass him by saying, "Hey, me and this guy used to be butting heads, and now we're walking the same road."
That's right. That's right.
And that's,
Time does change a lot of things, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and his name is Tommy Joe Hankins. I'm just gonna put it out there. Hey, Tom.
All right. All right.
You can't miss it because he's probably the biggest guy in Trenton. He's humongous.
Very great. We love to hear stories like that. I wish we had more time. I got a lot more things I would like to talk with you about, but that clock is on the wall and we have to get out of here.
I'm sorry, I talk too much.
No.
There's-
You've been excellent. My God, you've touched a community. You let us know a little bit more about what's going on. Before I let you go there, I gotta ask you. You were talking about there was Legos. I have a grandson who just loves Legos. Do you have kids and grandkids?
Unfortunately, no, I don't.
No,
I have nieces and nephews. Well, sometimes things don't work out, and
man.
there you go. And instead of getting married and having children, I got married to my job. I'm married now, but I'm 58 years old. Probably not likely to have a kid right
Okay.
now. So,
Okay.
but
Still a young man.
yeah, but there's so much that I want to get out there to the public. We updated our website too. www.trentonpolice.com. When I first got here, there was scant information on it. You can go on there and see our community assistance on there. We have hotlines are on there now for domestic violence and suicide prevention. Hotline is on there because both of those issues. Before we go, I really like to touch on those issues, um, mental health problems and trauma. So one of the things, and I hope to do a domestic violence awareness um, outreach. I already talked to the mayor about it, and hopefully we'll be able to do it soon. But domestic violence is very prevalent in the city, and for whatever reason it is, and um, I think that has to do with mental health. Um, because it happens way too often. It's a number of our aggravated assaults here in the city are domestic violence related, um, and also suicide prevention is big because there's a lot of trauma out there, and unfortunately, some people choose the easy road and away from trauma. And there's help out there. There's definitely help out there. So if anybody is in the sound of my voice is having those type of issues, please go to our website and call those numbers on there, and get some
What's the
help.
website?
TrentonPolice.com.
TrentonPolice.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
www.trentonpolice.com.
Okay.
It's even it's even easier if you have a complaint against an officer. You can do it online on our website. I put that up there too, because like I said, we're not perfect, and I would encourage anybody who sees officers doing anything wrong to report it um, right away,
Okay.
so it can be addressed, and it can be addressed through training or discipline. So um, um, another thing that we do out there for community outreach, addiction is a big problem. So we have our opioid task force, and we're partnered with recovery advocates and the municipal courts and the prosecutor's office. And the idea here is help before handcuffs because we have a lot of aggressive panhandling and homeless, and there's mental health issues there, and there's also addiction problems there. So what we try and do is when we do encounters with these folks, we offer them services as well. Some of them we bring right to court, and the court does a soft surrender. And what that means is they vacate warrants, schedule court dates, new court dates, and they can talk to the judge. And the judge, rather than saying, okay, well, you're going 30 days to the workhouse, they say, well, how about you go to treatment instead? And then we could take them to treatment right from the court. And that's what recovery advocates do. They come here and under the leadership of Stacy Ross, and they even go out at night and they go to these areas where these persons frequent or even live if they're homeless, and we try and get them help. And instead of writing a ticket, they get a warrant, they get locked up. It's a cycle.
Right. Right.
You have to break the cycle, and how you break the cycle? Treatment. And that's so. These are things that the police department historically never did, and we're doing that now. So. That's part of the police reform. We try and do just a little bit more. We're not just about enforcing the law, although that's still part of our duties. But if we can help on this end, it prevents the law enforcement end. So that's what I say. It's a two-pronged um, attack on crime and to help promote crime prevention.
Very good.
That's the real public safety.
Very good. Man, this has been nice. We appreciate you. We appreciate your coming on. It's a little bit hard to get some of our public officials to come on and talk to the community, but it's important. It's definitely important because you dropped some nice information on us tonight, and we appreciate that.
I appreciate you having me on and giving me your platform to let people know, the changes that we're making here and the things that we're doing differently.
So when you talk to some of these other people, tell them, hey, that's a good show. They won't.
On some things, and
Gotcha.
I really would like you to talk to Perry Shaw about the street teams.
Okay.
They're doing so many wonderful things. If you see around the Ninth Grade Academy and Trenton High School during the school year, you'll see guys dressed in traffic vests, the green traffic vests. That's Trenton Community Street Teams, and part of what they do is safe passage to make sure that there's adults out there that can intercept. Because sometimes the kids like to fight after school. They're beefing in school and they bring it outside, and they're there to calm that and de-escalate. And so I know our Trenton teams are at Ninth Grade Academy and Trenton High, and then I know that Pastor Boyer's team is also out there, and they have a different color traffic vest than we do. But both of those teams are out there doing their thing.
We'll definitely outreach to them, and we'll try to get them on the show too. We appreciate you, brother.
Thank you very much,
Director Wilson. Thank you.
All right. You take good care of yourself. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
All right.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Brother Mark Broach says that Steve Wilson is the guy for Trenton at this time. All right.
All right.
Man, that was informative. That was good. That was very good.
Very, very good. I understand what he's talking about. As a former probation officer, not quite a police officer, but he does some excellent work out there in the community. I'm glad he was here.
Okay. Well, that's what we need. We need people who care. Exactly. Instead of just, steamrolling. We need people who embrace.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing there. Who we got next week?
I believe Al was telling us the city council member.
Oh yeah.
Gonzalez.
Yasminelli.
Yasminelli.
Yes, Yasminelli Gonzalez. All right, she's city council at large. We have her on next week, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's good. We need, I'm still waiting for the mayor. Because we need to hear from the leaders of this city so that they can tell the people of this city what's going on in this city.
Right.
What they can look forward to, what they're doing to make the city better for everybody. So.
And then any rumors that are going around that are not true, they can dispel those.
That's right. That's right. Like Brother Steve did tonight. He dispelled some rumors for me. But I love when he's talking about the grandma. I love that because, like I said, I ain't never met a cop around my house. I never had. But it's good to have. It's good to have that relationship.
Right.
So anyway, we better get out of here because I know Sean is up in arms. Sean, we're going to go now.
We out of here.
I love you. I love all of you. Thank you.
Peace, Trent.
You all. I love our listeners and everybody. Thank you.